Basin and Odessa. You're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
On average 6 babies born a day. About every 4 hours we have a baby born.
The Children's Miracle Network is making itself known to new families in the Permian Basin by donating to Medical Center Hospital's Labor and Delivery Department. Coming up in just a few minutes, we have a look at the equipment that MCH is purchasing with this donation. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks to those of you who are joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and we start tonight with news across West Texas.
The conditions are just, I don't want to break down. They're just unbelievable.
Last week, more than 60 dogs were abandoned in an apparent hoarding case in Imperial. Over the weekend, several animal rescues teamed up to get the dogs out of the small home. About 6 inches of feces and urine covered the floor in the rental home. When rescuers arrived on Friday, they said that many of the dogs were sick, hungry, and frightened. And about 14 of the dogs remain at the home with food and water and constant checkups. But they will not stay there much longer.
Not one will be left behind. We are working on actually trying to get them placed. We just have to get these other ones situated and then have the fosters come and pick them up so that we can make room for these. But not one will be left behind.
The home was rented to a tenant who left the dogs behind. Help for the remote landlord circulated over social media, prompting rescues to join in. Right now, Claxton, Dogs Rescue R Us, Midland Animal Shelter, Adoptables, and Trans-Pecos Dusty Paws are looking for foster homes and donations for food and medical needs. And a developing story for you now, the Midland City Council has made their first approval on a new ordinance that will help make the community safer. Mayor Lori Blong said on Facebook that they're looking for a solution for the abandoned and unsafe buildings in downtown Midland, like the Vaughn building that you're seeing right now. Due to development of crime hotspots, the new ordinance would secure the vacant sites so that there are no unauthorized entrances. The second reading for the ordinance will be later this month. And the U.S. Supreme Court has unanimously ruled former President Donald Trump will stay on the ballots of all 50 states. The High Court rejected an attempt by Colorado to disqualify the former president because of his actions on January 6th. Next month, the court will hear arguments about whether Trump is entitled to broad immunity from prosecution from acts allegedly committed while in office.
I want to start by thanking the Supreme Court for its unanimous decision today. It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs.
The former president maintains that the criminal cases against him should be tossed because he has presidential immunity. And happening tomorrow, voters in 15 states, including Texas and the territory of American Samoa, head to the polls, casting their ballots in the Republican presidential primary. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley picked up her first win over the weekend when she won in Washington, D.C. But time may be running out for her to stop former President Donald Trump from winning the contest. Danya Backus has more details from Los Angeles.
Hello, Texas!
Nikki Haley urged voters in Texas to go to the polls on Super Tuesday.
We don't anoint kings in America. We have elections. And Texans deserve the right to be able to vote.
Haley made history Sunday, becoming the first woman to win any Republican primary when she bested former President Trump in Washington, D.C.'s contest.
The choice comes down to this. We can either have more of the same, or we can go in a new direction.
Still, the former UN ambassador is far behind the former president and delegates needed to secure the GOP nomination.
We've been launching like a rocket to the Republican nomination.
California is one of 15 states voting on Super Tuesday. Tomorrow's contest will award more than a third of delegates in the race, meaning Trump can all but lock up the nomination with a big night. He is already looking ahead to a rematch with President Biden in November.
The poll numbers are very good. We're beating President Biden in almost every poll.
The former president says Biden is trying to use the courts to beat him, but says that's backfired.
The polls show that I'm much more popular than I was before weaponization.
On the eve of Tuesday's contests, the Supreme Court ruled states must keep Trump's name on the ballot. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Be sure to stick with CBS7 on our website, social media, and of course our newscasts for team coverage on local, state, and national elections. We're going to take a pause now and talk your weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller. Tom, it was quite warm today. Are we going to see any cooler temperatures coming up?
No, it looks like we're going to see a little more of the same here for the middle part of the week. Let's go ahead and take a look at that high cloudiness we had that made for a nice sunset. Well, that's zipping across to the east, so we're going to clear out a little bit into the overnight hours. Here's a look at our live iCam in Odessa at a quiet evening out there, as temperatures are into the mid to lower 60s now, so we're starting to cool off a little bit, but who could complain with this? And again, making for a nice evening to sit out on the back porch. Already 59 down towards the Fort Davis area in Saragossa. Winds have calmed down quite a bit from what we were seeing a little earlier today. Now, the forecast temperature trend shows a little more of the same on the way for the middle part of the week, but that's going to change. Another cold front's going to arrive later this week with some wind, maybe even a shower, thunder shower for parts of West Texas, but also cooler temperatures, a little bit of winter, not that far away.
Thank you, Tom. 6 days from now, the clocks will wind back, and while that unfortunately means we lose an hour of sleep, it also means that we gain more daylight, which could have a positive impact on your health. Vitamin D makes our bodies better at absorbing other nutrients, namely calcium and phosphorus, both important for bone health. However, vitamin D also helps with much more. When the sun first starts to rise in the morning, vitamin D helps with regulating our circadian rhythm.
We are kind of built or designed to respond to that sunlight in those morning hours. And so that helps to kind of regulate our hormones related to sleep, including melatonin and serotonin.
On the downside, more sunlight does mean that hotter West Texas days are right around the corner, which can also be dangerous to your health with the risk of dehydration or skin cancer.
So what we can do to kind of balance that is maybe limit our time outside, limit our exposure. Some studies show that 15 minutes of direct sunlight is enough to kind of give us that benefit from the UV exposure. And so we really don't need to be outside for extended periods of time to get the benefits of having that sunlight.
Some of the best ways to get vitamin D are to take a walk, play an activity outside like basketball or soccer, or just have a nice picnic and get enough vitamin D for the day. And did you know that on average a baby is born every 4 hours at Medical Center Hospital in Odessa? With that in mind, MCH is using a $17,000 donation to purchase Draker brand jaundice meters. Every baby is at risk of developing jaundice, and about 6 in 10 of those babies will have some sort of varying degree of jaundice. While some hospitals are forced to use more invasive measures where they'd have to prick in order to blood test the baby, these meters will accurately and non-invasively measure the yellowness of a newborn's skin.
Give us an accurate reading so that we can either further monitor the babies, or they are deemed ready to be discharged.
Funds like this better patient care for newborns, mother in labor, and the entire family overall.
Just advances our healthcare that we can provide here at Medical Center to help make sure parents and babies are being taken care of, and that all precautions are put into place to make sure baby comes in healthy and mom's taken care of during labor.
This testing is required for all newborns prior to letting them leave the hospital, because that data must be entered into a national database. And the Exchange Club of Midland held a meeting to discuss the current status of MISD schools and what to expect after the recent bond package passed. The $1.4 billion bond passed in November and will bring new upgrades to schools throughout the county. These changes include new campuses, renovations to middle schools, a new elementary school, and updated safety measures. MISD Superintendent Stephanie Howard says that this meeting was a good way to educate the community about these changes for the next school year.
We like to just lay that groundwork of letting the community and the different groups that we speak to know what the school district looks like. We have some new curriculum coming in the way of math for K-5, and so that's going to be coming down the road as we continue to work to have consistent resources across the district. And then, of course, Bond 2023 is going to keep us busy for the next 5 years.
For more information on the bond, that's up on our website, CBS7.com. And a teacher at MISD's Young Women's Leadership Academy got a big surprise today.
Is she deserving of this award? Yeah.
Amanda Byers was greeted in her classroom by representatives from HEB, who let her know that she'd been selected as a finalist for the HEB Excellence in Education Award in the category of Rising Star.
I say a lot, like, we can learn a lot from a wrong answer, and we just don't know it yet, and we can keep investigating, and we only are going to be able to get it right if we sometimes get it wrong first.
Mrs. Byers will get to attend the Excellence in Education banquet in Houston this May, where 10 statewide winners will be announced. And still ahead, crews continue to battle wildfires across the Texas Panhandle, but Mother Nature could finally be providing some relief. We've got the latest on the Smokehouse Creek fire in your news across Texas. A much-needed break from Mother Nature could give Texas firefighters battling deadly wildfires the advantage they need, thanks to a cold front sweeping across the Panhandle region and surrounding states Monday. Laura Aguirre has more on the fire threat and the warning that some cattle ranchers have for the nation's beef supply.
This is a monster fire. It's going to take days to get it put out. Numbers are going to go up.
Numbers that are already devastating for Texas. Multiple wildfires are still burning, with well over 1 million acres turned to ash. Thousands of livestock have been lost and hundreds of homes and other structures decimated.
Our ranchers and our homeowners are hurting deeply.
For many cattle that have survived so far, there's no grass to eat and no water.
We've got over 120 miles of electric lines burnt and on the ground. That means these people have no electricity. There's no water to pump for the livestock.
In Hemphill County, nearly 80% of the land has been scorched. That's in the state's Panhandle, where around 28% of the nation's beef herds are raised.
This is going to hurt our beef supply going forward in the nation.
Many cows that survived the initial flames now suffer with terrible burns and other injuries.
They're going to get pneumonia, they're going to get sick, and we've already had to put some down.
Fire crews in Texas are banking on cooler temperatures in the region Monday to give them an edge over the wildfires, with Oklahoma Forestry Services saying they'll turn over the perimeter of the largest blaze, the Smokehouse Creek fire, to local departments in their state for containment. But the fire's impact could be felt nationally long after they are extinguished.
It takes years to put a cow herd together before they're productive and producing like they should be.
It's going to take maybe decades to get over this.
I'm Laura Aguirre for CBS7 First Alert News.
Well, we've seen a nice evening across West Texas and southeast New Mexico. More of it in the forecast. We'll talk about that, talk about the next cold front up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, let's look outside at a beautiful evening across the area. This is our live iCam in Odessa, where we're starting to clear out on those clouds a little bit across the area, and temperatures are cooling off, but still very comfortable for 9 o'clock in early March out there, with temperatures into the mid 60s, already 59 over towards the Big Spring area, and cooling off a little bit from Saragossa south. You get into the mountain areas, we're seeing temperatures into the mid to upper 50s this afternoon. Now, taking a look at the weather makers, we are seeing that we have a little trough of low pressure moving right across portions of West Texas. This is going to be replaced by a little bit of a ridge here that's going to be moving across over the next couple of days, keeping temperatures nice, and that combined with the west to southwest wind should keep them about 10 degrees above where we should be this time of the year. But then we're seeing another trough set up across portions of the Pacific Northwest. This is going to dig down into the southwest U.S. and then move across, and as that happens, it's going to swing another cold front through the area as we move in towards the latter part of the week. Right now across the state of Texas, well, most of the showers, thunder showers have cleared out, and everything's off to the north and northeast of the state, as we saw a couple of thunder showers pop up around the Brady area, Fredericksburg, and then that was about it out of what we saw along that dry line today. Still rather warm out there, but we'll call it mild now across the area as that front is kind of pulled up stationary across southern portions of the Texas Panhandle. Temperatures across the state right now, well, currently we're looking at 45 in Amarillo in comparison to lower 60s around Lubbock and the Midland Odessa area. So that front slowly trying to move down, but it really won't make it into West Texas until later this week. So we got plenty of time to watch that. West Texas Futurecast, not a lot other than a few high clouds in our forecast coming up tomorrow into the evening hours. So that's going to be about it here over the next couple of days. Rest of tonight Looking great out there as we'll see temperatures again on their way to the mid 40s overnight tonight. So a little chilly start thanks to the dry conditions in place. We're seeing a wide range on these temperatures, so we'll be back up into the mid 70s tomorrow afternoon with that light west wind and your CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast. Well, looking great. No excuses not to vote tomorrow in the Super Tuesday primary here in the state. We'll see about 75 coming up on Wednesday into Thursday. It's all ahead of that next cold front. It's going to bring some wind, some more clouds, possibly a shower, thunder shower late on Thursday along the dry line across the eastern Permian Basin. Then the front will whip through, and that'll drop temperatures coming up for the start of the weekend. On Sunday, don't forget about that time change. We spring forward 1 hour early Sunday morning.
Still ahead, abortion and the legislation that surrounds it is a topic that continues to divide the nation. Coming up next, our CBS7 correspondent Ashanti Ford has been following legislation that impacts abortion and brings us the latest in your news across the nation. We're days away from the State of the Union, where the president will address the nation on some of our most pressing topics. Foreign policy and the economy are among the few. Another hard-hitting topic is abortion and a woman's access to reproductive options. Our CBS7 correspondent Ashanti Ford has been following legislation that impacts abortion and brings us the latest from Capitol Hill.
Abortion and a woman's right to access that resource is a topic that continues to divide the nation. Many saying their vote in this 2024 presidential election will rely heavily on where these candidates stand on the topic.
Abortion is oppression! Abortion is murder!
Anti-abortion groups stand with the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, thanking former President Donald Trump for his part in limiting a woman's ability to access abortion.
It was, to me, a huge victory. We've been working towards overturning Roe for 50 years.
Carolyn Smith is the executive director of Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, and she said the goal of anti-abortion advocates is not to control what a woman does with her body, it's to protect it.
We're talking about a completely separate, living, whole, distinct human being who has non-violently appeared because of this situation that is a biological occurrence.
The Biden administration disagrees, saying it's absolutely unacceptable to impede upon a woman's ability to choose, adding that Alabama Supreme Court's decision to declare frozen embryos as children could have far-ranging impacts on health care.
The Biden-Harris administration will continue to fight back against attacks on reproductive freedoms, whether that's attacks on abortion care, birth control access, and now IVF access.
Sentiments echoed by Deidre Scheffling, a chief political advocacy officer from the ACLU.
So I think no one is immune from this threat. Voting is one of the key actions everyone can take to support access to reproductive health care.
A move that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said could continue to impact women nationwide.
What happened in Alabama, make no mistake about it, is a direct consequence of the hard-right MAGA Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
The State of the Union address is this Thursday, and while President Biden has made it clear that he stands with a woman's right to choose, he will have the opportunity to ask Congress to stand with him. In Washington, Ashanti Ford.
Still ahead, no, aliens are not flying over West Texas skies. Coming up on CBS7 News at 9, we're talking about the so-called UFO flying over the Permian Basin. All right, before we go, Tom, it is time to address the rumors. Are there aliens in West Texas?
Well, there may be, but not tonight, though. This wasn't an alien. This was actually a SpaceX launch that occurred around 7:05 this evening from Vandenberg Air Force Base out in California, because this was in the western sky, and then it does all the particular things when you have the rocket separation, the booster separations and all that, and it made for a nice view. Kind of obscured a little bit because we had those high clouds in the western sky, but nonetheless, we were able to see some of it, maybe not quite to the detail we wanted, because there's been some spectacular views of these rocket launches, but it launched 52 satellites, Starlink satellites tonight.
52.
And there was 3 of them that occurred over the last 20 hours.
All right, so we got a good show.
Yeah.
No aliens. That's okay. It was a good show. Good to see. Thanks for watching CBS 7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up tonight on CBS 7 News at 10.